I'm Anjali. I am from Girl Guides Association Malaysia. I am also a young leader, as well as a volunteer for British Guiding Overseas. So I help with the overseas troop in Malaysia as well. My interest in quality learning actually stems from my background. I am an educator, specifically a special needs educator. So I really do come from that point of view when I look at quality learning.
My name is Alfonso Cabagabo, and I worked for WAGS for quite many years as the director for the Africa region. I left in end of 19. So my interest is really as a girl guide. The only reason I was a girl guide because I could learn new skills, learn, to be who I want to be. And also my background is in teaching. So teaching, making sure whatever you teach the students or the young women, whatever is relevant to their needs. So that's why I believe very much into quality learning.
Okay, thanks. Hi, I'm Barbara Muñoz Madariaga. I'm from Chile, and I'm a member of the Western Hemisphere Regional Committee. And well, my background is basically linked to the training of my member organization. I started to be a trainer very young, like with 21, I think, 20, yes. And in that moment, I discovered that I like to work with adults and see the way to reach different types of learning, quality learning for the different people. So I think this is what I most like. And then I start to be a core mission volunteer, and it was the moment when I say, okay, I can also help to my member organization, but also to another member organizations from the Western Hemisphere and also from the world.
Great. Quality learning is basically having, learning should be purposeful, and it should allow learners to learn effectively and retain. By doing so, you retain the information and skills that you obtain from this. My background is special education, so that plays it's an integral part of like what I do. So everything, even within my guide works, quite a lot. It's reflected quite a lot on how I teach as well. So yeah, for me, quality learning is that. How about you, Barbara?
Thanks, Anjali. Yes, I agree with you. And I like to add that for me, it's important to have a safe environment, not also regarding to the risk, things that you can touch or understand in a concrete way. I mean, for me, is to understand that everyone can flow and can be the person that they want to be in a space, in an environment. And if you have people who is comfortable in a place, in a space, maybe they can create fun activities, they can, I don't know, have different outcomes, aims, and also empower people to be leaders. But I think in this moment of my life, because we can change with the time and with the age and with everything, I think in this moment, because of my experience, I think that a safe environment could be great to make a quality learning happen. And what about you, Alphonsine?
Yeah, I would certainly agree with you. When I saw the question, they say safe environment actually is key. And when I was even looking at Josephine title, she's the safeguarding lead, was making sure that people are safe so you can feel comfortable to learn. But for me also, quality learning is really something that meets your needs. And one of them is to be safe, to be understood, to be supported, but to be really valued. And it's your experience, not mine, as someone who facilitates, making sure I understand your context to make that quality learning exciting. Make sure I understand your language. Make sure that the learning is accessible. If I am disabled, I can access it. If I can't speak English, I can access it. If I am a girl, I can access it. Not my context, my language, my needs. But also, as much as we can say it, it's on your age. If I am a young girl, safety is key, but fun is key. Really meeting you where you are with your context, your needs. Yeah, I would say. And what I have learned as someone who's been in the movement for a long time, probably the oldest person on this panel, is you really have to innovate, evolve with the time, not be sticking to what you know. That was at my time, but when I was the director for Africa region, that was for me the key thing is to make sure the young women who we support are consulted. So I'm not just saying, oh, that's what I used to do when I was a girl guide in Rwanda when I was 7 or 8, or as an international commissioner, but what is the girl of 2018 or 19 needs? Really, it has to evolve with the time. So yes, now they use technology, they have to use webinars, all the things that in my time I do not use. I still may not be able to use it, but how do I facilitate the young women or the girls we look after to really not be left behind? Because that's what sometimes happens. If we don't move the time and innovate, we are left behind. What about you, Anjali?
I think that's actually a really good point, Alphonsine, because when you said moving on with the girls, like as they grow, and I think that's really where I saw myself personally getting really innovative in the way I taught and I educated, because I personally feel there's such a negative not stigma, but there's a negative association when you hear the word learning. I think everybody thinks, oh no, like I don't want to do it. Like it's a very negative association. I mean, up till the pandemic, if you told me learning, I'm like, nope, I don't want anything to do with this. But now it's having to be innovative in the way I teach or run programs, especially with the pandemic, has really changed my perspective. So I feel that we need to first address that negative association before we can start moving forward. And and I think that has a lot to do with quality learning. If someone's not gonna think, oh no, I'm gonna have to sit down and read a book to learn, I don't think there's going to be any quality learning there. And I think that's what we do in the Girl Guide movement, is that we make it fun, we make it enjoyable, so the girls don't feel like they're having to just sit down and read a book and take information from there. Yeah.
Yes,
you?
yes. I want to say that I agree with you, because I think that sometimes we associate the learning concept to the school classes or the university classes lessons, and I think that we have to practice our critical and creative thinking mindset, because we have different people. It will depend on the context, in the experience. I think I was thinking that, for example, in my experience as a core mission volunteer, I had to support 3 MOs and they were too different. I mean, I have to think in different tools, in different age groups, and we have to think that maybe a webinar is not for all the people. Maybe we have to create books, or we have to create podcasts, or we have to create pools, or I don't know, we have to think out of our box. And I think this is very difficult. It's a challenge, but if we put effort in that things, it will be great. We will have great results. Yes, and that's why I'm interested in quality learning. I want to ask you, Alphonsine, if you think that, I mean, if you can talk about the difference between the adult and the youth quality learning. I mean, because you are a grassroots teacher, right? So if you can give your experience as a teacher, but also as a volunteer in WACS.
Thank you. Can I tell you, teaching is something I did so long ago. Many years ago in Rwanda, and at that time, teaching was really very much, you listen to the teacher, you write, you take notes, you memorize what you are learning, you repeat it to the teacher, and you got your marks. So when I became a staff at WACS, in the beginning, I started traveling around Africa, and because guiding was very much school-based, mainly in the English-speaking countries, and most of the volunteers were teachers, I started realizing that sometimes the learning we do in guiding was so much like in school. And that's where we're working with now the program team in WACS. We need to actually, as we're saying, Andrei, maybe move away from learning and say facilitating the learning. So I am a facilitator and I am a teacher. I am a facilitator and I'm a trainer, to really make it cool, relevant, and different from what we do in school. So really, when WACS started delivering the training of trainers, to make sure that the trainers are using methodology that are, yes, rooted in teaching, education, the but are so different in terms of you are part of it's participatory, it's innovative, it's fun, it's together. It's not the teacher, because I was a teacher, what I say, that's it. And if not that I was so a dictator, but if the students do not feel they have the right to challenge me, yes, they can ask a question if I allow it, but becoming a staff of WAGs and working with really amazing people in WAGs who were facilitators, I realized that methodology is key. The methodology you use to facilitate a learning that make the girls reach their potential. So I would say, yeah, my experience from both teaching helped me to realize what needs to change, if I summarize. Yeah. Thank
Just
you.
to add on to Alphonsine, it's just like it's just learner-led essentially, right? I mean, we want our girls to lead what they're learning. I mean, my path, my pace, we talk about that. It's a huge, our methodology, it's like, we have my path, my pace. And as Alphonsine was talking about this, I have to say, as reflecting on my brownie activity this evening, I just seen the girls think out of the box. They had to construct something with fruit and tower with fruit. And to see how innovative they were, how they thought outside of the box to get that fruit tower to stand on its own. So I mean, we need to really, again, we step back, just let them do, let them lead first, and then we just facilitate where we need to, because the girls know more than we give them credit for. They know a lot. They surprise in work. I'm surprised every day at the conversations I have, with these 10-year-olds. So just need to give them that space, like you said, that safe and brave space to express themselves freely.
But I'm going to return the question to you. I understand you are a new elected member of the Western Hemisphère Committee, and congratulations for that. So how are you going to use your experience, really, what you're talking, to make sure the learning, that the support you're going to get almost is going to be different. It's going to be relevant to their needs.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I think that that question was one of the questions that I did to myself when I was in the commission team, and also when I applied to the regional committee, and now that I'm in the regional committee. And I think that first, I will say that it's important to understand that every MO is different to the other one, and we can't have a straight formal non-formal education system. I think that there are some member organizations that have a educational system that it works, that is very good, and sometimes we want to create something, but maybe we can offer spaces where the member organizations can share their experiences, and they can take what they can put in practice and what is not for the context that they and the reality that they are living. So regarding to that, I think that it's important also to understand that we can have a framework as WACs. We can have, for example, a development framework like we have in the leadership offer, but we cannot have something too straight, because the member organizations are very different, the girls are different, the countries are different, the age groups are different, and I think that we agree that we have quality learning for girls, for young people, for adults, for more adults, and for the older people, and we need to have a different offer regarding to the place. So I will say that I will put in practice the listen to the member organizations in a objective way, and trying to not change the reality, just applying the things that they need and offering some help, and they can take what they need. Yes. And I want to ask to Anjali about your experience, because I know that you work with special educational needs. So if you can talk more about it regarding to the quality learning, or also your experience as a psychologist.
Thank you for that, Barbara. So for me, guiding honestly has played such a huge role in my career. The way I teach, everything I do. I think, especially as a special needs educator, you need to be very very creative in the way we teach, because I think Barbara had mentioned this when we had talked previously, is the way people learn. People all learn in different ways, and especially from a special needs child. There's, what we might think is like our learning method does not fit them at all. It doesn't mean they can't learn, it just means we need to figure out a really creative way of getting that information to them. And with the pandemic, again, getting creative of running modules online, that's really opened my mind on how creative one can actually get. So going into working, my first full-time job as a teacher of the past year has just been very interesting, because integrated a lot of my methods I use with the girls online, to the kids I teach, from playing a game to understand maths to let's go outside and like practice our times tables, like just getting really creative and making it fun for them to learn, enjoyable, and they're able to retain the information more as well. So I think especially that guiding and my back, looking at quality learning from a guiding perspective has really just influenced my career at the moment. And that also brings me back. I actually have a question for Alphonsine and Barbara. Is like, do you think quality learning looks different for an adult and youth, or do you think it's just like, is it the same?
I think for me, of course, the difference is when you are young, you have the different needs. So it has to apply to your, as I said before, it has to apply to your needs in terms of, as a young person, what I need is to pursue a career, to learn new skills that will allow me to, to have a career, to have a followers, to have, I don't know. I will let Barbara elaborate more. However, for me, when I was working with WAGs, the main thing, what is important, was to make sure the young leaders and the adults are working together. So they are learning from the adults, but the adults also are allowing the young people to be in charge, as I said before. So that partnership was key. Because for me, learning can be the same, the methodology can be the same as long as it meets your needs, your context. Like right now, they ask me maybe to join Campfire. I say, I don't even know how to do it, because maybe I'm not a generation.com. I was born before computer. But I said, Alphonsine, you cannot be asked maybe to do what Angeli will do as a young woman who can manipulate everything, technology. But I can also learn technology, because if not, I will not fit. So it's a quite complex one, but I believe the main thing is to meet everyone at where they are and ensure its quality. And I was going to ask both of you that question after. Barbara, over to you.
Yeah, thanks. I think that, well, definitely the world is changing, the world has changed, so the system has changed. And I think that this is because maybe at the beginning we used to separate all the things and to have specialists in some areas, which is good because we have to know, we need knowledge in a specific areas. But I think that the thing that in this moment the world is screaming is to have multidisciplinary spaces and people and teams and everything. I think we have to create something which could have people from different areas, disciplinaries, and I think this is the same for the age groups. I think we used to think in programs for people, for young women, for all women, and I know that it's important to empower that people, but maybe we can have, and I think that Alphonsine mentioned that, we need spaces, intergenerational spaces, where people can grow together. I mean, if you have the same activity, we will not have the same growth, but they will grow in a different way if they are with the same people and with different people. So I think we have to start to think out of the box. I know that I always repeat that, but for me it's very important because, well, I want to be a researcher, and you have to start to create things and to think that the things are not, the things that are happening now will be different tomorrow. So you have to be thinking in a fast way. So yes, I think that we are changing, and we have to change.
Yeah. Anyway, I know we need to let the participant ask question, but before, can I ask both of you, because you are still involved with the Girl Guide more than me, how do you monitor that there is quality learning? We say, oh, we need to make sure that we are talking about quality learning, but with your young girls, young women you support, how do you monitor and evaluate that they have really had the quality learning? That's its quality, not just learning, but it's quality. How do you do that?
Just looking if if we're teaching them, we don't have to ask them to sit for a test. Evaluating, I guess, is just seeing, do they have the understanding, questioning them. So why do you think you did this? Why do you think this worked better? I think that's just how you evaluate, just questioning them and seeing what they understand. Looking at what they're doing and observing, and just keep on asking questions. That's how personally I would evaluate. Just keep on asking questions to understand what they're doing better.
Yes, I agree with Anjali, because sometimes we finished an activity semester, we finished a year, and we say, okay, we have to evaluate, but what we are evaluating, I mean, if we don't have aims or objectives, we can't have a good evaluation. And also, I think that we need to have milestones, I mean, in our process, and it could be I don't know, events, moments, but also the questions that Anjali is mentioned. As I think that we need to say, okay, we are doing that, we are creating that, this is working, this is not working. And for me, it's very important to train the people, but also to have a monitoring and evaluation of the process, of the training, but also of the people, because the people is changing, we are changing. Maybe in 1 month we will say, okay, I will say another thing. So yes, I think it's very important to have milestones and objectives that you can evaluate after that.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. The participatory evaluation, involving the girls and the women in the understanding where they are, how they're doing, what needs to change. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think that a very good tool that I always say, but I know that sometimes people is afraid, the leadership model development framework is very good. I mean, the first time, of course, you will not understand everything, but with the time you will understand the mindsets, you will understand the outcomes, and you will understand the indicators of every outcomes. And this is very good. I mean, it's a friendly way of growth, or I mean, you can have your own milestones, your own outcomes. And yes, I invite the people who is listening that to go to the leadership offer webpage of WAX and to download the framework development framework, because it's very good. Go, Anjali, go.
So yeah, go for it, guys. I mean, I was introduced to the leadership mindset when I attended GLS in 2019, and I can't tell you how many times I've actually used it. I've used it so many times. Every time I say something, I'm being like, yeah, we're using this mindset. Oh yeah, this really, links back to this mindset. It's really long term. You really do see like it really helps, like Barbara said, grow. I think it really helps. We talk about the growth mindset, but these leadership mindsets also really help in that as well.
I think, as we said before, in my experience, one of the key things was, as I say, accessibility. If you don't make it accessible to the people, meet where they are, and that has been a challenge sometimes in my experience when we start moving online and people don't have access to the internet, can't download the information, you are not the time zone, you are not aware of that, the language, when it's not really a plain language only in English, but also it's a language that they can understand. You are not understanding the language and the accessibility. For me, those the two things in my time I used to find. But also the third one was to make sure that the people who facilitate the learning are trained to use the right methodology. So that's, yeah, we say those in my experience, but I'm sure Barbara has more.
Barbara, you go ahead first.
Okay. Yes, I agree with you, Alphonsine, and I think that we can add that maybe a challenge will be which elements which elements should be in the quality learning framework space process, because I think that many years ago we used to think the quality learning just in the trainings. I mean that if you are creating a oral policy or you are creating a training policy, everything was courses and things like that. But quality learning is more than a course, more than a training. So I think that it will be a challenge to think that we have more. Go, Anjali.
Just to add on is also that I mentioned earlier was, I think the biggest barrier I personally see in quality learning is just that negative association. Like, let's be real, learning is a process that happens all throughout your life. We don't realize it. Every moment is a learning moment, and that's been my motto for the past, throughout education. I wouldn't say past couple of years, but honestly, throughout me growing up, it's just like every moment's a learning moment. So I think if we address that negative association that's there and try and just break that wall down, I think we've already moved one step forward in addressing what we need to see in quality learning. And also, again, Josephine said accessible. And then Barbara's point as well. I mean, all of them, that's we're literally just moving forward towards that. Yeah.
Great, thank you. So we there's been some really interesting themes that have come out around I think the idea about needing to be flexible and adaptable, thinking about I really liked how Alphonsine talking about kind of partnerships between different generations and youth and leaders, and actually and then breaking down this sort of stigma around what learning is. And I agree, there is a lot of can be sort of negative associations with learning. It sounds almost boring, but it's not. It's as you say, it's lifelong. We're experiencing learning all the time.
Yeah, actually STEM for me is very important, because I think that for many years women was private from that area, and I think that we have the possibility to offer a space where people can create and do things in a practical way. I mean, in the school, we are always learning the theory and the things related to, the matters, the models, and sometimes STEM could be boring. So I think that we have the possibility in WACS to offer I don't know, the contact with some foundations, with some organizations to create apps to understand how you can model some things. We can improve the WACS system also with people who have knowledge in a STEM way. So we can also think, I don't know, maybe in science camps and things like that we used to see in the movies. But for me, it's very important to understand that the STEM area is not something that could be related only to the theory. It could be practical, and not only something related to science, to math, to technology, to engineering. Is something that can help you to put in practice the creative and critical thinking mindset. If we are putting in practice that mindset, we are putting in practice the STEM area. I mean, we are thinking in a different way. I'm a chemical engineer, and I know that is something difficult to understand, and many people say that I'm crazy, but I like, because I can think in a different way. And I think that with the STEM area, we are not looking that all people is interested in science. We are looking for people who are interested in think in a different way. I mean, I think this is the important. This is the opportunity that we have with STEM in the quality learning.
In all our activities and guiding, we always ensure we make a safe and brave space. But I mean, I guess the answer to this is like just sitting down with the girls and asking them what they expect of this type of environment. Setting the ground rules down before you start the activity or whatever you're doing, and also just making it clear that, like, we're gonna just be respectful of one another, and any criticism given is constructive criticism. Don't take it to heart. Take that as like an opportunity to grow from that. I mean, if I was personally telling that to a younger girl, I don't think they would fully understand. But I think the more we repeat this, the more they will understand. And I guess setting the ground rules of what a safe and brave space is with them, getting them to tell you what they see in the safe and brave space. So getting them to tell it to you will also helps because it's coming from them. So yeah.
I will add quickly, because I'm gonna unfortunately leave very soon. I will add quickly the main things also to make sure the leaders who are facilitating the training, the commissioner, however we call it, they are trained and understanding safety, but also we do actually vet them to make sure they are going to not be bullying, using methodology that make the girls, not safe, making sure that we are being, and I know Josephine, you are the safeguarding lead for WAGs. Really, we make sure that we are training people in safeguarding. We are making sure they understand it was a safe environment. We are making sure that we have done the vetting of any leaders that, because you're a girl guide, you can just become a. So maybe that will be important. I don't know what is happening now because I left WAGs long ago, but in the organization I am with the volunteer, we work with this key now to make sure they have training safeguarding, that they do whatever check we need to do before we allow them to volunteer, even if they have the values, the excitement of the organization, but do they understand what is a safe environment? Can they know whether the sign that some girls don't feel safe in that moment? Yeah.
Well, I can start saying that I agree with your answers to the previous question, and I think that is relating to that. I think that is important to understand that even when the schools can have a non-formal approach, the girls are coming to our groups in a volunteering way. I mean, they know that they will not have marks. They are coming because they are having a good time. I mean, this is one of the most important things in WAGs, that to have an attractive offer to the girls. So I think that we can continue with our offer, having an attractive space without marks in a volunteering way. And also what is very important, and I think that sometimes we have in our minds, but we forget to say, is that we are doing what girls want to do. We are not teachers or professors that we are creating activities. We are doing the things that girls want to do for their own growth, because they know themselves. I mean, we are out of their lives, so we are just in their lives with the framework and trying to help, but they are growing and we are supporting and accompanying that growing. So I think that the three things that I think that are very important. We are in a space without marks, volunteering, and we are doing the things that we want to do. And I want to remark what Annalisa said about the innovation, because there is a definition for innovation, that is, innovation is to put in practice the creativity. And I think that is very important, because sometimes we say, oh, innovate is very difficult, but be creative not so much. But if you are a creative person, or you put in practice your creativity, you are innovating. So don't be afraid to be innovative.
So I think that I don't think we necessarily, the girl guiding movement is already unique on it, on our own. I mean, we're the first, like, we do non-formal education for girls. I mean, we're known for that. So I don't think we need to reinvent the wheel. I think that people taking our way of facilitation and using the non-formal approach in a formal education method, it's them moving forward. And I don't think we need to recreate, because I think what we're doing is already so good. And by them using it, it just shows that they realize what we have been doing works really well for our girls. So I think just keep doing what we're doing, and just keep on with it, because we're seeing the progress, we're seeing the world move forward with like similar way of facilitation. So why reinvent it?
Yes, I agree. And also I think that we can start to think that it's important to have an outcome, but also, as I say before, to monitoring the process. So to give the girls and also the leaders the possibility to see how they are growing. Sometimes when we are in a formal education space, we are always thinking that we have to finish that. I have to pass the course, I have to finish the exam. I mean, like further elements, but maybe we can have milestones in the process. I mean, close to the other one, and it will be nice to see how are you growing, and you will not always thinking in that you need a mark, or you need a special prize or something like that.
I see we have two more questions that are very similar to one another. The first one reads, there are countries where girls are given marks and pass fail in guiding and competitions to get awards. How can we encourage quality learning in such situations? And the second question is pretty similar, saying, because formal educators make up a big part of leaders in many member organizations, how can we help the leaders practice non-formal education and guiding? Where would you like have a go?
I think they are very close to the other one, very similar. But I will say that sometimes we continue doing the things that in the way that we learned. I mean, we start to train to the other leaders, or train to the other young leaders in that way, because I learned in that way. And I think that we have to listen to the people. Yes, yeah. Listen to the people and start to change that, because what I learned is not the same that it will work for you. So sometimes it's important to listen to the people.
Stepping out of your comfort zone, just step out there and try it.
Yeah,
as something it might be. I mean, it's just take that risk and go for it.
Great. Well, thank you. So we're at time. Come to the end of our time for today. I didn't know, just on the very last note, going back to that original poll. I don't know if we answered them definitively, but if you had out of those four, what's the best way to make quality learning happen? Have your ideas changed? Do you still think the same? What would you stick on again? Clear outcomes, fun activities, safe environment, or an empowering leader?
I will choose safe environment.
Okay. Yeah, great.
Again.
Okay. Excellent. So this conversation will continue on the NFE Hub. We'll post a highlights video, and the intention then is over the next few weeks, we'll draw out some more of these themes and have the conversation there. So we hope people can join us on the Hub. Do email us if you need any help with signing up for Campfire. It's a new space, get to know it, engage where you can, and we will look forward to seeing everyone there. Thank you so much, Anjali and Barbara, and Alphonsine as well, for all of your time today. I know it's very precious, but it's been lovely to have your experience, and been fascinating hearing your thoughts. So thank you very much, and we hope everyone has enjoyed the webinar.
Thanks to you, Josephine.
Thank you for having us.
Yes,
our pleasure.
Very nice.